Joan and I have been married for 2 years, married right out of college. I work in sales for a manufacturing company. She got a secretarial job at one of the big insurance agencies in town. We knew each other in high school, but never dated. She dated my buddy Ray, but they broke up senior year of high school. We went to different colleges. Last year, we went to a 5-year reunion. It was nice to see most of my old friends. I saw them around, but we didn't socialize much. Everyone had their own lives. Ray married Sue, and shortly afterward, she had a miscarriage. It happened early in the pregnancy, so it wasn't as bad as it would have been if she had gotten pregnant later. I dated Sue when I was a junior in high school. We went to prom together. I remember it well because we both drank, even though we weren't old enough and had sex. For her, it was the first time. When she came home, her parents saw that she had been drinking and forbade her from seeing me again. Thank goodness they didn't know about the sex. We weren't in love or anything, but we were very good friends. I didn't tell anyone that she and I had sex. I promised her that I would keep our secret. I often thought about what might have been if we had kept seeing each other. Joan, Sue, and Marie were high school cheerleaders. I heard that Marie had married Bob and they had a child of 2 years. A few other guys I was glad to see at the reunion were Tony and Brad. The 5 of us spent a lot of time together. We were all on the soccer team. The funny thing is that I married Ray's ex-girlfriend and he married Sue. Bob married Marie, but they dated while still in high school. Tony and Brad were black guys. They never cared about being called African American. They always said they were born in America. Their parents and grandparents were born in America, so they are black Americans. At the reunion, they were both with their wives. They were beautiful women. I even liked their names, Shauna and Victoria. They were as sexy as their names. Neither of them had children yet. The 2 couples had gotten married just last year. Tony worked at the factory where I worked. He drove a tow truck and was damn good at it. Both Brad and Ray sold insurance at the company where Joan worked. It was nice to get back with the old crew and meet the new wives. Looks like we all did a pretty good job. We decided that after the reunion, we would get together from time to time and go out. After the reunion, we got together with Ray and Sue almost every month. With the rest of us, we got together on special occasions, like holidays or celebrating someone's birthday. Things were going pretty well, but one day Joan felt like things had changed. It was hard to explain. It was as if she suddenly became too nice to me. I had just gotten back from a conference. I had only been gone for 2 days, but Joan kissed and hugged me as soon as I walked in the door. I didn't complain, but it was kind of out of place. We made love at least 3 times a week, and sometimes more, so it wasn't like we were in a drought or anything. Before I could shower, she said she wanted me, and we went into the bedroom. I asked her what prompted it, and she said she just missed me. In the days and weeks that followed, she seemed different. When we went out with Ray and Sue, she no longer acted as friendly with Ray as I always remembered. Sue still always kissed and hugged me whenever we met. I'm not a detective, but I had to wonder if something had changed in their relationship. We still met every month, went out to dinner, and even danced. It just seemed like Joan and Ray weren't acting quite the same. Sue never said anything about them, so I thought maybe I was just overreacting. Besides, Joan had been more interested in my schedule lately, when I'd be out of town and such. That got me thinking again. We still made love 3 times a week, if not more. She enjoyed the sex, and I made sure she was always satisfied. I also realized that when we were dating Ray and Sue, they never joked about sex the way we did. I began to feel like they were hiding something. It was a gradual change, but I'd seen enough TV to suspect that this was the behavior of people who were hiding something. I wasn't going to make any accusations until I was sure something was going on. During the Thanksgiving holiday, we went to visit Joan's family. They lived about 40 miles away from us. During the visit, I caught Joan talking on her cell phone. I wondered who she was calling that was so important. She always paid her bills, so it would have been hard for me to figure out who she was calling on her cell phone without making a fuss. During Christmas vacation, we visited all of our friends and agreed that we would all go out together for New Year's Eve. I noticed that Joan greeted all of our male friends with hugs and kisses. We always did that. I greeted my wives the same way. It seemed that Joan was the only one who treated Ray a little differently. At the New Year's Eve party, everyone had a great time. I danced with all the wives, and my friends said I was lucky to be married to Joan. We had all had a lot to drink, which made for some loose talk. As Ray and Joan were on the dance floor, Brad mentioned that at school all the guys thought Joan was hot. He said, "Don't be angry," but we often wondered how hot she really was. For a lot of us, she was fantastic sex. "Your chocolate bunny looks pretty damn good, too," I replied. It was just guy talk, but it got me thinking. After drinking some more, I asked Brad if he ever saw Joan at work. He said he did almost every day, but only in passing. He said he had seen him and Ray go out to lunch a few times, but didn't pay much attention to it. When I was dancing with Sue, I realized she had too much to drink. She told me how much she liked me in school and wished her parents weren't so hard on me. Since she had a lot to drink, I wrote it off as talking about drinking. I did hold her close to me, and I enjoyed it. She was still someone special to me. I cared for her more than I realized. I saw Joan and Ray off to the side. It looked like it wasn't just friendly flirting. I saw them kissing as they crossed the hallway. I'm sure they didn't know they could be seen. After the New Year's Eve party, I began to watch Joan even more closely. One day when she wasn't home, I looked at our phone bills for the past couple months. Ray's number appeared several times on the cell phone bill. Checking the dates, I saw that she had called him 3 times on Thanksgiving alone, and even more on Christmas. I then checked this against my nightly appointments. I told her that I was going on a short trip at the end of January. It was true, I did have a sales meeting, but only for one night. Without her knowledge, I went out and bought 2 voice-controlled voice recorders. I put one in the living room and the other in the bedroom. I hoped I wouldn't find anything. I was not an extremely jealous person. Like I said, we all flirted with each other, but for me it never went to the jealousy stage. Admittedly, I did put a little weight on it when I hugged Sue. She didn't say anything, so I guess she didn't mind. Each recorder could record up to 6 hours. After returning from the short trip, I went straight home. Joan had already left for work. I got the tape recorder from the living room and it was full. I started listening and heard the TV running in the background. Then I heard Joan making a phone call. "Ray, he's gone and I'm home alone. Alone. Come and play with me." She was trying to sound like a little teenager. She must have turned off the TV and left the room because the recorder stopped. The next thing I heard was her opening the door. I figured it was Ray. "God, I missed you so much," Ray said. "We should be together. When are you going to leave Alex so we can be together?" "What about Sue? Have you forgotten about her?" Joan asked. "I married her because she got pregnant. I've always loved only you. No one has sex as good as you. I can't wait to get in your pants." "Let's move to the bedroom. I shouldn't have let you go." Then I stopped the recorder and pulled out the one in the bedroom. I was really pissed off. It amazed me that Sue was a wonderful woman and he was abusing her and Joan was his whore. Those 2 assholes deserved each other. The tape from the bedroom was all sex. She was moaning and groaning and he was asking her if he was better than me. After she was done, he asked her again, "Do I have you better than Alex?" "Yes, I like the way you have me. I want you to fuck me again." "When are you going to leave Alex so we can be together?" Ray asked. "I don't know. I want to be with you, but Alex has been good to me. He gives me everything I ask for. Can't we just be buddies for a little while longer? It would be hard to just walk away from Alex. My family loves him, and he's a good husband and lover." "I thought you just said I was better. Who is better at making sex with you, Alex or me?" "You're both different. Alex is more gentle, but you're rougher and I like that." I heard them start having sex again. I knew this marriage was over. I loved her, but I didn't realize how quickly love could turn to hate. Now I had to come up with a plan to get even with her and Ray and still act normal. Back in the living room, she told Ray that she loved him and only him. She would think about what she could do to break up with me so that I wouldn't find out that she still loved Ray. When she got home, she greeted me as usual. I had no problem fucking her, but I decided to be a lot rougher and a lot less gentle. She wanted rough, and she would get it. And she did. The next day, I called my friends and asked them to come over on Friday of the week and play cards. We did this every couple months. I told them I had a surprise for them. When they asked what it was, I told them they would have to come over to find out. I told Joan that the boys were coming over to play cards on Friday. She reminded me that we were supposed to go with Ray and Sue on Saturday and celebrate Valentine's Day. We had already made reservations at the Holiday Inn. Joan and I were going to stay the night. Ray said that he and Sue would probably drive home that evening. I asked Joan if she was going out on Friday or staying home. She replied that she would stay home since we were going out on Saturday. I thought, good, that fits in with my revenge plans. I knew our marriage was over. I just needed a little revenge on Joan and Ray. We rented an apartment and each of us owned or at least paid for our own car. Other than that, we didn't have much money. Between us, we made quite a bit, but as Joan had already said, she got whatever she wanted. We had a few thousand in savings and about the same amount in a checking account. The credit cards we paid off every month. That was one good thing we decided to do when we first got married. We were paying very little interest, which kept us out of debt. I talked to my employer, and he offered me a position in sales in Kentucky. It was about 300 miles from where I lived in Ohio. He said that if I accepted, they would give me a raise and pay my moving expenses or rent for 6 months or until I was settled. I asked how soon I would be transferred, and he said any time within the next month. They wanted to fill the position by the end of February. He said he would understand if I didn't accept the position, but he should offer it to me. Without flinching, I told him I would accept and be there by February 13th. He was surprised that I was ready so soon. I told him I was getting a divorce and wanted to get on with my life as soon as possible. That gave me a week and a half to prepare. I asked him to keep the moving and divorce information private since my wife had not yet been served with the papers. He said he sympathized with me and wished me all the best. I left the office and headed to the attorney's office. I explained my situation and said that I needed to have the papers served on my wife at the Holiday Inn while we had dinner. Joe Lester had been my family's attorney for as long as I could remember. I told him that I have proof of adultery, but I just want the marriage dissolved. We have a no-fault state, but considering we had very few assets and had only been married for 2 years, there was nothing to divide. I told him I wanted to cancel all of our joint credit cards on Saturday the 11th. We only had 3 in both names. I had another card that I kept in my name only and left open. She also had several store cards in her name only. I didn't care about them. Now I just had to get through another week and a half. I did my best to work late. I had sex with Joan twice, but it wasn't love. Alex, what's the matter? Why are you being so rough with me? I like the gentle and caring you much better. I'm sorry. It's been a rough week at work. My friend told me about his wife cheating on him. I guess it just bothered me. She gave me a strange look but didn't say anything else. On Sunday, I told her I was going to the hardware store. I went down to the basement to see what I needed. She must have thought I was gone. I heard her talking on the phone. When I was in the basement, it was always easy to hear talking upstairs. The sound came through the vent. I could only hear one side of the conversation. Ray, have you talked to Alex lately? He doesn't seem like himself. Do you think he suspects something? I was just wondering. I'll see you at work tomorrow. Of course, I'll see you here on Friday when you're playing cards with the guys. You'll tell me if Alex seems different to you. Yeah, I wish I was with you on Saturday, but at least we'll be together to some degree. I love you too. Walking up the stairs, I caught Joan off guard. I thought you went to the store. I had to check to see if I had the nuts and bolts first. Who were you talking to? She hesitated, then replied, Mom, I asked her for a recipe. I thought I was going to make cookies for your card party. You don't have to. I'll just have cheese, bologna, and crackers. I need to buy beer and liquor. I'll talk to you later. I'm heading to the hardware store. I was actually buying a tripod for our video camera. I would need it on Friday. All week I hadn't had sex with Joan. I could tell she was a little worried. Thursday I picked up food and booze for a card party. When she asked me to make love to her that night, I told her to wait until the guys left on Friday night. Besides, we had a Saturday night at the Holiday Inn coming up. I told her I hoped it would be a night out. She didn't say anything, but I knew she was interested in what was going on. To this day, I had never turned her down for sex since we had gotten married. After work on Friday, I set up the card table and laid out all the appetizers. I also had plenty of booze. Joan asked me what was going on. I told her it was a boys' party and we were going to drink a lot. They all knew about it and came in a cab, all except Ray. He lived on the next block. They all showed up, and the first thing they did was hug and kiss Joan. I remember Tony saying, "God damn, you're one lucky son of a bitch, what I wouldn't give for a night with a woman like Joan." Everyone laughed except Ray. They said they all felt the same way. Then I said that they all had amazing wives that they should be grateful to for putting up with them. Everyone laughed again except Ray. That's how we socialized. Under the right circumstances, I'm sure they would have loved to fulfill their fantasy. Everyone was drinking mixed drinks. When they asked what the surprise was, I told them it would be later. Joan was dressed in tight jeans and a tight blouse. It showed off her assets well. "Holy shit," Bob said. "You haven't changed a bit since high school. Still just as sexist." Joan smiled at him. Ray said, "Better not let Marie hear you say that. She might bust your head open." "Bullshit, Ray. Even Marie knows that Joan was the hottest girl in school. Marie is a good-looking woman, but admittedly, we all dreamed of Joan." "Okay, that's enough," Ray said. "I think we're embarrassing Joan." I looked up, and a smile appeared on Joan's face. She wasn't embarrassed in the least. I guess it was Ray who didn't like the sex talk. A few hours passed, and all the guys were already well intoxicated. They started talking about sex and even their wives. Even Ray was drunk, but he didn't talk, just listened. I saw Ray go to talk to Joan. I figured she wanted to see if he noticed anything. Then he headed for the bathroom and then came back. No one noticed, but I only had one drink and drank sodas the rest of the evening. I got up and made Joan another drink. It was a screwdriver, but I put a lot of medicine in it. After a few minutes, she was passing out like a light. My buddy who sold me the stuff said it was a sleeping pill, but a person could still feel and react in their sleep. About 10 minutes after Joan drank her drink, she told the guys that she felt tired and was going to go to bed. "Shall I put you to bed?" Brad asked. Joan only smiled. Another half-hour passed, and the guys were still drinking and playing cards. I excused myself and went upstairs. I set up the video camera in the closet. Then I undressed Joan completely. She was naked and covered only by a sheet. I took some towels and spread them around, especially under her ass. I went back downstairs and heard that the guys had gone quiet. I asked them if they were talking about Joan again. They laughed, and I told them I had a surprise for them. I asked them to follow me up the stairs and into my bedroom where Joan lay. "What the hell is going on?" Ray asked. "Well, guys, I'm going to be straight with you. I found out that Joan was cheating on me, but I don't know with whom. I figured if she can sleep with some stranger, she can sleep with my friends." "That's crazy," Ray said. "We're all married, asshole. There's no way I'd do that to Joan." "Look, Ray, she's sleeping with me, and when I find out exactly who she's dating, shit's going to hit the fan. I know all you guys wanted to fuck her back in high school. Now's your chance." "I'm not forcing any of you, so if you want to refuse to have sex with her, so be it." I opened her up, and her beautiful body lay there. Her breasts looked magnificent. "What if she wakes up?" Bob asked. "She won't wake up," I replied. We heard her light moan. "She's drugged, but she can still feel and react to every touch. She won't have the slightest idea what's going on or who she's with. So, any takers?" Bob walked over to her, and while he kissed her breasts, I stepped back and turned on the video camera. "Holy shit! I've been dreaming about this my whole life!" While he was rubbing and kissing her bust, Brad started rubbing her body. "You can't do that!" Ray shouted. "It's not right. Joan is our friend." "You don't have to participate, Ray. Just stand there and watch. Hell, we can see you're already getting aroused," said Tony. Tony took off his pants and climbed onto the bed. As soon as he got off Joan, Bob took his place. After about 5 minutes, Brad asked, "Can I do it again?" "No!" yelled Ray. "What's your fucking problem, Ray? She's not your wife," Brad exclaimed. "She's my friend," said Ray, trying to justify himself. Brad told Ray to hold her legs up higher. Ray took one leg, and Bob walked over and took her other leg. "Don't worry, Alex, I won't hurt her." "I don't mind," I said to Brad. Then I watched Ray, who was looking at her while holding her leg. Ray was having hardcore sex. Hell, so did I. Watching her get what she deserved was satisfying. "So, Ray, are you going to fuck her? You were telling us how good she was when you went at it with her," Brad said. I looked at Ray. He always told me he never slept with her. Even Joan said they had intimacy but never intercourse. Needless to say, I wasn't surprised to hear the truth on tape that day and now. Ray did the same thing with her. When Ray got off her, he pulled up his pants. "What happens now, Alex?" Bob asked. "Nothing, no one can know. This is just between the five of us. You can all keep that secret for now. Honestly, guys, I'll probably divorce her as soon as I find out who she slept with. Consider this my parting gift." "What about the mess?" Tony asked. "Maybe we overdid it?" "I'll clean up after her. I'll just tell her I got horny after you went home. There's no one to tell her any other way. Just so you guys know, if she hadn't cheated on me, you would never have been allowed to have sex with her. It was just my way of getting even with her." The guys thanked me and said they would never forget that night. The night they slept with Joan Andrews. They hailed a cab and left. They took Ray with them, but he wasn't saying much. I went upstairs and looked at Joan. I turned off the video camera. No one said they had seen her. She was a very sexy woman, and I would miss her. After washing her properly, I put the video camera away and lay next to her one last time. She woke up before I did, and I could imagine what happened when she went to the bathroom. When I woke up, she was downstairs, sitting at the table drinking coffee. "What the hell did you do to me last night?" she asked me. "Shit, I've never been hurt like that." "When I came up the stairs, you were still dressed. I took your clothes off, and you looked so sexy. I took Viagra for the first time. I promised you a good night out at the beginning of the week, remember? Maybe you had too much to drink. I don't know. But I was horny as hell. I'd already taken the Viagra, and that's why I fucked you, silly." She looked at me, wondering if I was telling her the truth. She rarely passed out drunk, and was probably wondering why she wasn't waking up. She said she had taken 3 Advil pills before going to bed. She had a slight headache. I told her that and the drinking probably knocked her out. I didn't realize she had taken the pills. I guess she wasn't too worried because her lover Ray was around. Maybe he can explain to her why she doesn't remember anything. She knows she didn't drink that much. At least not enough to pass out and not know she was being made love to. While we were drinking coffee, I picked up my phone and called Ray's house. "Who are you calling?" Joan asked. "Ray and Sue, to let them know we'll be at the Holiday Inn at 7. Do you want to talk to Sue?" I asked. Sue picked up the phone, and I joked with her about her husband not being able to hold his liquor since he was still in bed. I said I would see her tonight. I handed the phone to Joan. The two of them talked about girl stuff, and I went down to the basement with a video camera. I went through the tape and took pictures of her getting fucked by all the guys, including Ray. I wasn't in any of the pictures. I did my best to make sure I didn't have any pictures of Joan. I made 2 copies of the photos, 10 in all, and none of them showed her sleeping or being forced. If she wanted to press charges, she'd have a hard time getting the guys to tell the truth. Hell, they could be charged with rape. No, she didn't go to the authorities or fight the divorce. She was getting ready for our evening out, and I have to say she looked great. I even told her that she never looked prettier in her short black dress that showed off all her best assets. Why did she have to cheat on me? We could have had such a wonderful life. We were sitting at a table when Sue and Ray showed up. Ray threw me a rather shitty look, but I stood up and gave Sue a big hug and kiss. Ray kissed Joan but looked upset. We ordered drinks, and I gave Joan a Valentine card. Ray gave one to Sue. I looked at Sue. I felt so sorry for her. She was a wonderful person and deserved so much better than a crook like Ray. I often wondered what might have been if her parents hadn't forbidden her from seeing me. Looking at her, I think she was as beautiful as Joan. She may not have emphasized sex like Joan, but she definitely had the looks and character. She was the only one I felt sorry for in this whole mess. She should have stayed in the shadows, and it would have been my fault. I wish there was another way out, but now it was too late. I got up to go to the bathroom and meet with the lawyer. I gave him the photos and copies of the audio recordings. He took one look at them and put them under his papers in the folder he was going to give to Joan. I went back to the table. After dinner, we were sitting around talking when my attorney Joe Lester came over to our table. Joan had met him earlier and said hello. I introduced him to Ray and Sue as my attorney. Joe looked at Joan. "I hate to do this, Joan, but you've already been served." "What the hell is this?" Joan shouted. "It's divorce papers," said I. "I've known about you and Ray for a long time. I suggest you sign the papers and return them to Joe as soon as possible." I'll use irreconcilable differences. If you don't resist, then it will be because you're cheating on me with Ray and the others. What are you saying, Alex? That Joan and Ray are having an affair? Sue asked. Yes, I think it started way back after we reunited. She used to go out with him every time I was out of town. Also, they used to have lunch together at work, but I have a feeling what they ate wasn't food. You fucking bastard, Ray said. You can't prove shit. Joan and I are not having an affair. Believe me, Sue, I wasn't with Joan. Joan was going through the divorce papers when photos spilled from a folder onto the table. Sue picked up one of them. It showed Ray on top of Joan. You bloody lying bastard, Sue said to Ray, punching him in the face. Joan screamed that the pictures weren't real. She has no idea where they came from. I never slept with Bob, Tony, or Brad. Those pictures can't be real. Where did you get them, Alex? She asked. Ask your boyfriend, Ray. He held your legs while Tony had you. I put the tape recorder down and told her she could listen to her and Ray having sex. Everyone was yelling at each other as I got up and walked out the door. The last thing I heard was Joan yelling at Ray. How could you do this to me? I thought you loved me. I have no idea what happened after I left. I went home and pulled out my bags that I had packed earlier that day and stored in the basement. I packed a few more things and headed to the motel. On Sunday, I was scheduled to leave for Kentucky and my new job. If Joan read my letter that was in the folder, there would be no problem. I told her I wouldn't show the pictures or tapes to anyone, but if she decided to fight for a divorce or drag me to court, I would let the pictures and audio recordings speak for themselves. I left another letter at the house. In it, I wrote that I was moving on with my life. I loved her and hated her, but I could never trust her again. I explained that she could take everything we had accumulated. I have moved out of state and asked her not to try to find me. I don't want to see her again. Besides, I had already canceled all of our joint credit cards. I called Joe at noon on Wednesday, and he said Joan had already been to his place and signed the papers on Monday. In 3 months, I would be a free man. True to form, he said Joan burned the pictures while in his office. She said it was in her best interest. After I left, he told me that the three at my desk had an argument. Ray was also furious that he had to pay for our dinner. His wife, Sue, got up, called Joan and Ray cheating bastards, and drove off in Ray's car. Sue stopped by Joe's on Tuesday and filed for divorce from Ray. Joe thanked me for referring him to legal work, but asked me not to send him any more letters like that. Epilogue. It had been 4 months since I left the restaurant. I've kept in touch with Joe, and a month ago he sent me the final judgment. He said he had no idea what Ray and Joan were doing now, but informed me that Sue had gotten a divorce and their house was up for sale. I had kept in touch with my parents since the day I left. They said Joan had called them, but they told her they wanted nothing to do with her. I told them that I found out she was cheating on me with Ray. That's when I got a job in Kentucky and got a divorce. I told them I would visit them sometime and let them know when I got there. I didn't want to ever see Joan or Ray again. I had a one-day sales meeting in Indiana, and when I got home, there was a knock on my door. I opened it, and there stood Sue. "What are you doing here?" I asked her. "How did you find me?" "I went to see your supervisor, and he told me that you had been transferred to Kentucky. I kept trying to track you down. I finally found you, but you left without saying goodbye. You know you left me with a hell of a situation." I apologized to her and told her I was sorry, but I couldn't let Joan and Ray know what I'd found out. If I told her, she would probably kill Ray. I smiled at her and invited her in. She asked if I could take her in for the night since she had sold their house and was looking for a place to live. I looked at her. She was as beautiful as I remembered her. I invited her to dinner and we got to talking. She said Ray told her that I had told her that I had set up the photo shoot, but it had really happened. She also said she heard an audio tape of Ray cheating on her with Joan. Joe gave her a copy for her divorce if she needed it. "Alex, I understand that you want a divorce, but why would you set Joan up like that? That's not like you." "Well, it was either that or I would have killed them both," I replied. "We've all known each other for years, and if Joan wanted to be with Ray, all she had to do was say so, and we could have gotten a divorce, but they had to go through with cheating on me and you. I couldn't let that happen without a little revenge." "I'm just sorry you got hurt because of all this mess. You deserved so much better." I asked what her plans were, and she said she didn't have any plans yet. She just needed to get away for a few days after the divorce. That's when she tracked me down. This all happened a year ago, and since the day she showed up at my apartment, she has never left my side. I got her a job as a secretary in my office, and 2 months after that, we got married. Both her parents and my parents came to the wedding. Sue told her parents that she loved me and they would have to accept that. She called them yesterday to let them know that they are going to be grandparents in a couple of months. One more thing. Joan is having a hard time confronting Tony, Brad, and Bill. Their wives don't know about the card game incident. The guys didn't even know about the pictures and Joan destroyed them. They have decided to deny the incident if it ever comes up. According to recent reports, Ray still works in the same office as Joan, but they are having a hard time. She can't seem to forgive him and doesn't believe he tried to stop his friends from having sex with her.